All right, you guys. Hey everybody. My name is Blaze. I'm here at Blue Chip Athletic Club. Today we're going to be talking through a little bit of supplements information, things that are good, bad, the ugly, and then how it can kind of apply for you in your daily life. But real quick before we start, I've been doing this for a little bit in the health and wellness space. I've been the guy who's been 150 pounds soaking wet, and then the guy who's 230 pounds and about to get kicked out of naval flight training for being too heavy for an ejection seat. So I've been kind of all walks of life when it comes to health and wellness, athleticism, just general fitness. And what I honestly think that I didn't understand is achieving your dream body doesn't take, more than 2 hours of working out per day. It's a lot more about understanding your body, listening to it, working to improve. And now I train hard, but it's really only for about 45 minutes a day. And Vanessa, who's live on this call, can attest to that. A lot of this, kind of growth and development has come through education and not working harder in the gym. So this is why I'm trying to bring this to you guys so you can kind of have that body mindset and kind of focus and headspace that you're kind of looking for your health and wellness. So we're going to talk real quick today about supplements, their general role in nutrition, and what's beneficial and kind of what's necessary. And I appreciate Sabrina for kind of bringing this topic up. So what's a supplement? Quite simply, it's essentially a way to supplement, quote unquote, your diet and adding additional benefit, or typically that's the goal, right? Is to add some sort of micronutrient or macronutrient into your body so that you're able to make more progress towards what your goal is. So I know I just threw out some terms and I want to make sure I define those too. A macronutrient is going to be something that's referred to commonly in the health and wellness space as macros. And the big three macronutrients are going to be proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, or proteins, carbs, and fats. And the way that these are, defined is essentially they're going to give you energy in the form of calories that are used in the body. Micronutrients, on the other hand, are vitamins and minerals that the body needs in small amounts. Some are deemed essential and others are deemed not essential, and that's based on if your body can produce them on its own or not. So some are something that your body can naturally produce. Others are things that you need, but you have to get from other sources, aka food or supplementation. All right. So in general, supplements, like I said before, are meant to supplement the gaps in our nutrition and in our environment. So some examples of this is like, hey, let's say you're somebody who's plant-based, vegan, or something like that, and you're struggling to get enough protein in your diet. Well, something that may be beneficial for you is supplementing with a protein shake or some amount of protein in your diet. Someone else who, let's say you live in Alaska where the sun doesn't really shine. Sorry for you guys that are living up there. You may end up taking a vitamin D supplement because you're not getting as much from the sun. So just a couple of really broad examples. These aren't, conventional, I guess, in the way that you'd think about a vitamin D, but definitely something to kind of consider is that your environment kind of does shape some of that stuff for you based on where you live. So common nutritional gaps that occur for people. So a lot of times people find themselves deficient in vitamins D and B12. Omega-3 fatty acids are another one. And then minerals like magnesium, iron, and calcium. Shout out to my dude, Iron Man. He probably doesn't need to supplement iron himself. And what I'll do is I'll kind of go over these in a little bit more detail as we kind of move through the presentation. But essentially, these are things that are not as easy for you to get into your diet, especially if you're diet restrictive and somebody who's following a specific diet plan based on your individual needs. So the best way to cover the gaps, and it's going to be a really boring answer, is eating a more whole, nutrient-dense food diet. So foods that have a lot of essential macronutrients, vitamins, and minerals versus foods without. So obviously that's going to be foods that look a lot more like what's on the left than what's on the right, right? I'm not telling you not to eat Oreos. Everybody loves an Oreo every once in a while, but putting this into practice is really difficult, right? So based on the way that the food industry is, based on things like convenience, cost, time, the way that foods are super palatable for the average person, it's going to make this a big difficult, honestly, almost like a war on the food industry. So it's something that I want you to kind of consider as you're walking through the grocery store to kind of understand, hey, what's the way that I can get into these spaces? And honestly, you end up possibly saving yourself some money because you, instead of buying a supplement on top of it, you're getting a lot of that supplement from the food that you're having or the micro or macronutrients that you're looking for. So let's say you're somebody who's watching this and you're like, hey, I don't know where to begin. I just started a health and wellness journey and I don't really know where to start. I would say, throwing out percentages is not something I love to do. But if you were to say, hey, what's a great way for me to be more well-rounded in my supplements and not have to supplement as much because I'm getting it from my foods, I would say if you're shopping around the border of a grocery store, 70 to 80% of the time, then it's a really good start. So it may sound like a lot, but basically like a couple easy options of like, hey, instead of buying the box of cupcakes, go get blueberries. Or maybe you're making burgers and instead of you having a burger that has a potato bun on it, which is typically highly processed, you're going to go and buy like mushroom caps and make the top and bottom of your burger like a mushroom cap burger. These are some really small things that can shift your body in general and your ability to kind of respond to illness and a lot of other things, and make it into something that's pretty normal and make a ton of change in your life. Okay. So how do you know what you're missing? So typically, a lot of times people are in a space where they're over supplementing, like, hey, you take 12 different vitamins and minerals in the morning and you're like doing all these things. And you're like, well, I heard that, magnesium is good for you. And I heard that this is, and this is, and you end up kind of falling prey to this, false reality that you kind of need all these things. And at the end of the day, you typically end up just kind of peeing out all the excess or, pooping out all the excess and then you end up wasting your money, your time, and your energy. So, one thing I kind of want to make sure that like everybody's on the same page of is that there's no magic pill to health and wellness. Like, if you do find one, let me know. I'll be your first investor and probably throwing down everything that I own to be part of that. But truly, like understanding where your nutritional gaps lie, it's going to be something that's going to come in the form of in a couple of these forms, and these are some things that you could do: medical history evaluation, dietary assessment, surveys, or labs and diagnostics that you actually do in the form of like a blood or urine test. So typically without a combination of these, you're going to struggle to know kind of where your gaps are. Now, although I can't like prescribe you a specific diet in the way that a doctor will, because I'm a certified nutritionist, I can help try and identify some of the potential gaps that you have based on your diet. So how does that kind of look and how could that be delivered to you? Is analyzing your relationship with food and helping you consume a more whole nutrient dense food diet. Because at the end of the day, nutrition is about behavior and it's not a skill. Because everybody, when they're a kid, learns, hey, to put food in your mouth is the act of eating, right? But understanding that when you do eat, your body is in a certain state. Maybe you're rushed, maybe you're eating out, maybe you have kids that are, driving you nuts. So you just decide to throw the dino nuggets into the oven, like whatever the case may be. Understanding that this is going to be something that is a behavior and that you need to analyze and understand is really, really, really important for that kind of lasting effect. And then honestly, getting us to a point where we don't need to supplement because we're getting all that stuff from our whole nutrient dense food diet. Another thing that I can help you guys out with is building a skeleton meal plan to help give you ideas on ways to round out your diet. So this could be like, hey, I love eating XYZ. This is how many times I like to eat. Like, let's try and work something out to where we can, optimize my diet so that we're getting all of these macro and micronutrients in to make sure we get the gaps kind of covered. And then last and certainly not least, talking to you about things that I do based on my own research and body that I've kind of had this introspective look on, excuse me, for the past decade plus. So that kind of leads me into the discussion about things that I take. I don't love answering this question either because research and the internet and all these things kind of change drastically. So I'm sure I'll get flamed for this at some point. But before I kind of get into exactly what I do, I want to kind of point out a couple things. And it's one, I train really hard for athletic performance, and to try and keep like a certain type of body, especially for the business, right? Because I hate to say it, but like, especially in this space, like your body is a bit of your business card, right? Like if I'm somebody who's going out to invest in a health and wellness coach, I think I'd try and work with the person who's, fit and has a certain body type versus somebody who's like super overweight or is struggling to do that themselves, because it's kind of about walking the walk as well. So keep that in mind kind of as I go through this. The only other two things I want you to think about is, for me personally, I typically will eat like twice a day and kind of snack in between throughout the day. So understanding that because of that, I don't have the opportunities to eat based on kind of what my body operates really well off of. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind. And then the other thing is, I've got a really good understanding of my own nutritional gaps based on macro and micronutrient research, food journaling, logging, MyFitnessPal stuff, you name it. I've kind of run the gambit. So I just want to make sure that we're kind of all on the same page as to why that is the case before I kind of get into it. So all this to say, what works for me based on my findings and exploration may not work for you. So what we need to do is kind of use evidence-based decision making when we're going through the process for you and your unique situation. And I know I haven't really gotten to uh, what I take yet, but I just really want to stress and emphasize how important it is to really understand yourself and your own body. So using your evidence-based decision making, what does that mean? It means being in tune with your body. Maybe like you didn't sleep well the night before, and it wasn't just because your kids kept you up or you had a racy mind. Maybe it was because you deleted like 2 pizzas and 4 beers, and then your body is trying to figure out like how to function without some of those critical vitamins and minerals. Or maybe your diet's left you deficient in magnesium, and for some reason you're super stressed, and the combination of these has caused some version of IBS. Now this is which IBS is irritable bowel syndrome. So just another couple examples of ways that like you really need to take a little bit of an introspective look and realizing that there's no quote unquote magic pill. And again, this is kind of a watered down example with both of these, but definitely something that I think is really good in practice for you to kind of understand where you are and kind of where you want to be. So drum roll now. So what do I take? This is kind of like a quick list of things that I kind of take myself based on nutritional gaps that I kind of have. And I'm going to kind of rip through these and talk about reasons that I take each of them. So I take vitamin B12. The reason that I supplement that, it's essential for nerve function, red blood cell formation. A lot of people like find that it's super helpful in energy and making sure that you're kind of awake and alert. So I really like to take that. I take AG1, which is a combination of the athletic greens and then the vitamin D3 and K2. Vitamin D is really good for bone health, immune function. It's really good for, somebody who's lacking the sun exposure, and something that I think is really tough as we kind of move forward into this digital age for your average Joe. Vitamin K is really great for bone and cardiovascular health in general, and is a key component to basically helping the vitamin D be synthesized. I've got a fish oil that I'll take too, which supports heart health, brain function, anti-inflammatories. It's got essential fatty acids in there as well. I take creatine for strictly performance based. It's not a ton, but basically what it does is it helps kind of push you through high intensity activity. It's one of the most researched supplements on the face of planet Earth, and it's something that's super safe. So for those of you that have heard otherwise, definitely reach out and give me a call, and we can chat about the benefits of using creatine or taking creatine. I take protein powder. It's convenient, and it's a way that I can kind of fill my own gap in protein intake as well on a day-to-day basis. I take a magnesium. Magnesium super critical for a ton of different functionalities. There is some magnesium in AG1 as well, but it's definitely something that I like to kind of round out. Helps sleep. It helps a ton of bodily functions as well. BCAAs are going to be branch chain amino acids. These are basically going to help keep you from being quite as sore. And it's again beneficial for athletes who are in need of muscular recovery. And then if I'm feeling kind of sick, sometimes I'll take a vitamin C, and this is basically to kind of help fight off that for my immune system. So these are just a couple different things that I kind of wanted to make sure I highlighted for you guys. Realize that a lot of these are performance based, and these are things that I'm trying to do to achieve and be at the peak performance level that I'm trying to continue to be at, mostly for the business and also I guess personally as well. So it may not be something that is beneficial for you in your unique situation. So definitely something that we can chat about at any point if you want to with me or your coach. All right. So Sabrina, who brought this question to me, wanted to chat about differences between men and women when it comes to supplementation. I think this is something that's really interesting to chat about as well. So you may need a different supplement based on your gender given to you at birth. This is why like multivitamins are sold for men's and women's multivitamins. And I just want you to realize that like they take data from, a large pool of, people that they analyze and essentially create this to cover nutritional gaps for people that are the generic man and generic woman. So just realize that this isn't something that's going to be, foolproof for your unique situation. We can talk about that too a little bit moving forward. So for men, and again, this is super watered down. I want to make sure that that's known. Very, very broad, watered down. And so don't take any of this kind of as like gospel, but in general, for men, a lot of research suggests that vitamin D actually has a strong role in testosterone levels and making sure that men get to like kind of keep those, as well as a decreased risk of heart disease, which is a leading cause of death for men. Omega-3 fatty acids are also super important to heart health. I know I talked about that before with the fish oils. It's part of the reason why I take them, and they're anti-inflammatory. So again, another, key reason for that kind of being important for men in particular. There's also a link in recent studies that are talking about prostate cancer risks being lowered by taking omega-3 fatty acids. So this is, another reason that this could be more beneficial for the male population. And then when it comes to women, a lot of times it's really important for them to have iron and calcium. And this kind of makes sense, right? Like, especially in childbearing years, these are things like, hey, your menstruation cycle is happening, you're getting blood loss out of the body, which means, blood is very iron heavy. It's going to be something that you need to replace in your body when you're kind of losing it. And then calcium is one of those things that osteoporosis is really prevalent in women, which means you're basically losing bone density and becoming like super brittle. Another way you can help promote bone density is by lifting weights. I'm going to give a quick plug for weight training there for the women out there. Make sure that you're trying to get into that because it's something that can help fight against osteoporosis in general. But I want to make sure that this is known. Like you can get these things from your food and your environment, and you do not have to supplement with these things if you have the right whole food and nutrient dense diet. You get, some sunlight outside and you're able to kind of move throughout your day. So right here, I'm not going to kind of go through and read all of these, but for those supplements I talked about in particular for men and women, here are some examples of things that you could eat instead of going to buy a supplement yourself. So, let's say you're looking to kind of get more vitamin D. You could go and eat fatty fish such as like, salmon or tuna. You could start having, more egg yolks in your diet as well. And look at that. Eggs are, something else that's really good for omega-3 fatty acids. So more whole nutrient dense foods kind of checks out there. Let's say you're, a man that's looking to do this and you're somebody who is a vegetarian or something like that, then you can start to look into other, avenues such as like, chia seeds, walnuts, hemp seeds. If you're, looking at cheese, these types of other sources that you kind of have access to are going to be important to kind of explore. And again, this list is not all inclusive. So a couple for iron sources for women, because again, typically that's going to be something that a lot of women struggle to get enough of, would be kind of like red meats, spinach, quinoa, these types of things. And then calcium, get it from dairy, tofu, nuts and seeds. So, in general, you're looking at whole, nutrient dense, real foods. If it swims, flies, moves, grows from the earth, you're probably on the right track. And at the end of the day, you know, if you're able to shop around the outside of the grocery store, that's the best way that I can kind of break down to make sure that you're getting the supplementation needs that you kind of have on a day-to-day basis. So that's all I have for you guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'm going to stop this video right meow.